another episode of SRC Paradise. Today, I'm going to walk you through how I rebuilt my center diff for the Team Redcat BE6S. In the beginning of the video, I've included some initial footage of the run that my center diff broke on. At the time, I wasn't exactly sure that was the problem, but of course, it turned out to be the center diff. So I just wanted to include some footage so you guys would have a frame of reference to hear, for those of you that are running into this issue and you're not sure what it is. I would definitely start with a center diff if you're having, what you suspect to be diff problems. So in the beginning of the video, you can hear what that sounds like. You can kind of see what it was like. And then as soon as that's over, I'll get into the actual rebuild. So stick around. Hope you enjoy the video, and thanks for watching. First of all, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's very nasty. Like right there. Yeah, it's just like... Yeah, it is just really not sound good. I'm just gonna have to take it apart, investigate, and see what the breakage is, what the problem is. Okay, guys. So, at this point, I'm kind of getting into the center diff of the BE6S, and without going any further, I think I've found my issue. Couple things actually. This clip, I'm not even sure where this goes, but this may have been like a spacer of some sort. But this was bent up and just all mashed in my center diff. So put that right there. Also, I kind of jumped the gun on disassembling this and trying to clean it up. I wasn't sure exactly the best method to clean this, so I probably would have preferred using brake cleaner or something. I had gasoline on hand, so I just put some gasoline in this little ceramic bowl, which really isn't sufficient. You really need kind of like a bigger... I would get like an aluminum dish, almost like for like something you would like put cat food in or something, just like an aluminum dish, and pour your gasoline or your brake cleaner or whatever you're going to use to clean the grease off. So when you get these stock and you disassemble them, I don't know if you can see that, but it comes packed in heavy duty grease. I don't know what weight it is or anything, but it's just grease. So the other thing I would say is learn from my mistake and definitely get some gloves, some latex gloves or something for your hands. Just, so you don't get all dirty and nasty. Plus, you don't really want to be handling gasoline or brake cleaner necessarily. I am going to use a toothbrush, and we're just going to kind of clean this up real quick. So first issue I found was that little spacer, or whatever that piece of metal was, bent. That was the first thing I found. Second thing I found was on the rear. I'm not even sure what part this is. It looks like the rear output shaft, if you guys can see that. One of the teeth, let me clean this up a little bit. I'm just gonna get the excess grease and crud off here real fast so I can show you on camera what it looks like. Alright, that's good enough so you can see. So, here you can see one of the teeth is completely missing. It's like chewed right off there. So I don't know if I just don't know. What's really confusing me is what this piece of metal is. I mean, I don't know if it was like a ring at one point and it just got mangled in there, like a spacer ring of some sort, like a shim. I mean, that's what I would suspect, but I will have to look at the instruction manual. I got it open right now. I don't see in the manual, it's not apparent what this is or was, but I can show you that this tooth is missing. Also, it looks like there's it's probably very hard to pick up on camera, I would imagine, but I can see there's like little I'm gonna do this over here. There's just the teeth. There's wear on the teeth. So, and I imagine that's from when, you know, whatever this piece of metal was, spacer or ring or whatever that was, probably got chewed up and was in there floating around maybe, or when that tooth broke off. Maybe that's the tooth. I can't imagine that's the tooth, but it kind of caused some damage to the other teeth on this gear, on this beveled gear. So so far that's what I've uncovered. I'll have to get a new one of these. Let's start this. So here, guys, here are the new washers I got. These little spacer washers. Now it's interesting because this part number is supposed to go in there. So this is the front output shaft of the center diff, and this little pin goes in it. I'll take it out to show you guys what I've already done. Sorry, I still have a little bit of the sniffles. This cold is just hanging on. But so you guys see this little shim right here. So this is the whole thing, I believe, that held me up, held my build up, and was destroyed. So here it is. Here's the replacement part. Something to note. It's actually, so there are two of these in the entire center diff, okay? The one that I discovered initially that needed to be replaced was chewed up and bent and nasty. In fact, you guys can see it hopefully right there. It got all chewed up and messed up. So there's a second one. Interesting though, the replacement part is physically smaller. It's got a smaller diameter. The thickness appears to be about the same, but you can just see it is a little smaller diameter. So, I don't know. To me, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but it just goes right on there like that. We're going to take our little pin here, slide it in there. There we go. Just like butter. So we got that. Now, okay, and by the way, so here's that second, actually, this one, this spacer was right there, okay? There was nothing necessarily wrong with it, so since I'm replacing the center diff, I thought, good time, I might as well replace it anyway. That's just me. I will tell you that when I bought these, the replacement shims, so here they are, they're part number 130117. 130-117. Those are those super thin shims for the center diff. When you buy them, it does come in a pack of, I don't know exactly, it looks like about 8. So that's cool, especially because they're so thin. They could potentially wear out over time. I'm glad they give me extra, not just 2 or 4 or something, so that's really cool. Way to go, Redcat. Alright, so here's the back half of the center diff, here's the front half. They kind of go together like that. Here are my new replacement spider and bevel gears. Now, all I really needed for my particular repair were these guys right here. And I really only need one of them. But my philosophy is when you're dealing with a differential rebuild like this, whether it's center diff, front, or rear, when you buy the parts, if you're just going to rebuild it as opposed to buying a whole unit, if when you order the replacement parts that you need, if they give you the whole thing, like, you know, I've got two of these bevel gears and then I've got all the spider gears there, it's a good time, you're in here, it's a pain in the butt to do, so why not just do it once, replace everything in one shot, that way it's all new, you don't have to worry about it. You know, it's kind of like hitting the reset button, and you're getting, you know that you've got brand new fresh parts, right? That's my philosophy, as opposed to just putting one piece in and then reusing the other stuff. You can do that, but I'd rather not have to tear this thing apart, you know, sooner rather than later. So, I have kind of forgotten how this goes. I'm going to just quickly look at the manual here. That's the front. Whoops. That's the front, guys. That's the rear. Okay, so that bevel gear right here goes on here like this. I hope this is showing up on camera. I don't have my camera hooked up to like a monitor or something, so I can't see exactly what you're seeing, but alright, so that's good. Then we've got these spider gears. Okay, so I've got brand new spider gears, so we're just going to use these guys. They're my old ones in there, guys. You can see them, they still have grease and junk on them. We're just going to cut the bag open, get the brand new parts out. Boom, there we go. 4 new spider gear, or yeah, spider gears. I do, however, need these. They're washers. These little washers that go on the end of them. So I am going to try to take it off there. Yeah, there we go, guys. I'm just going to set it in there. So there's one washer right there. There's the old bevel gear. There's another one. And they're just, the grease is on there, the factory grease. So it kind of acts almost like a glue because it's, you know, it's thick and heavy. I'm just going to reuse these. I don't have any qualms or worries about reusing these washers. They're more substantial, and I'm not worried about it. They're in great shape, so no problem. I'm going to reuse them. Here we go. There's the other one, just slid right off. All right, cool. Now, I did clean all this stuff with gasoline about a week or two ago. I'm just double checking again just to make sure there's no little crud on it. And it looks good. Okay, so we've got that on there like that. Got my new washer and bevel gear. Like so. Okay, got my next one. Ah, man. These things are like difficult to pick up. Okay. There we go. There's my third bevel gear. And here's my fourth brand new one. Here's my fourth little washer. It's right on there. Okay, so we're good. Got my 4 bevel gears. And they go on these. I'm just looking at the manual real quick, guys. Since this is the first time I'm rebuilding the center diff, I'm just making sure I'm doing it correctly. So hopefully you guys can see this. I'm just sliding these on there like that. Okay, and they point down. These are all the same size, by the way, so you don't have to worry about doing it wrong or something. Alright, so that guy goes there. Got this other one, this other shaft. I'm just wiping this clean just to make sure it's free of debris. There might be a little bit of extra grease on there, but as long as there's no like metal filings or particles or, you know, pieces of crud from when it failed, I don't mind. Okay, I got that guy on there like that, and then these two fit together. Oops. Like so. Oh. Whoa. Again, just referring to the manual, guys. I think we're just going to set that down for a second like that. And we're going to need this guy right now. Actually, all we need is the pin, I think. Let's double check. Yeah. All I need is that pin. So we're gonna slide the pin in this guy, and wish me luck because it's a very small confined space. I'm gonna rotate that gear to try to get it. Try to get it in there. Oh man, my hand slipped. I had it and then my hand slipped. Let's try that again. This is tedious. This sucks. There we go. Slid right in there. Not too bad. Okay, so we got that in there. We're gonna kind of center it a little bit. All right. Here's the new bevel gear. Slide that guy in there, and it just fits right in the back, right in there in this slot. Gotta try to line these guys up. Nice. That basically clicks right into place. I like it. Alright. Now, just again double checking. Just double checking the manual. Alright. So I should be able to drop this as a unit in there. Now, I'm actually going to flip it around. I don't know that it matters. This is kind of tricky, guys. Lining this up. There we go. I spoke too soon. That was easy. Nice. You guys see that? It's rotating easily, or freely I should say, freely and easily. It's my main concern. I just want to make sure everything's in there, sitting flush and lined up properly. And everything appears to be okay. Okay. Now, again, just referring back to the manual. Now, this is interesting. So this gasket right here, guys, this gasket is sort of like a, well, it's just that. It's made out of a gasket material, I don't know, much like a header, you know, something on a real car. It's made out of some kind of gasket material. It's semi-soft, okay? And they coated it with grease, and it's supposed to go right there. Right? It's a gasket. I'm sure it acts a little bit as a spacer, and it also probably prevents leakage. And it may because it has probably just a little bit of give in it. It may act as somewhat as a shock absorber, if you will, or to help impact maybe on your diff gears. One of the watchers of SRC Paradise recommended, and I'm sorry I don't have your name in front of me. I do my best, as you guys know, I reply to everybody, but I don't, unfortunately, unless I'm sitting in front of my computer, I just don't have everyone's names memorized yet, so apologies. But one of the viewers suggested when I do the diff rebuild to leave that out, to not include it. Reason being, I don't know the mill thickness of this thing. You guys can see
it does have it does have some thickness to it. But he was suggesting leave that out, and you will get a tighter mesh, right? A lot of people with different, different brand cars, oftentimes there's room in your diffs that you can shim them. You can pack the gears more tightly by using shims. I'm not sure that's the case so much with this unit, with this center diff unit. So he was suggesting leaving that out, and I don't know that it's going to be possible to leave it out. I have to check my tolerances here, guys, because it doesn't seem like, it seems if I leave it out, it's going to be too tight. So, not sure that's going to work unless I've got this wrong. I don't think I do. I don't think this is... There we go. The mesh wasn't perfect, that's why. Alright, you know what? I'm going to try it. Alright guys, I'm going to fill this up with 200K diff oil, or diff grease. I'm using Factory Team 200K silicone fluid, diff fluid. I bought this online. You can get it probably, I got mine on Amazon, I think. It's like $7 or something. Man, it's thick too. Alright, there we go. I'm gonna let this, I'm gonna add a little more, and I'm just gonna let it kind of soak into all the crevices and stuff. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop the video here. We're gonna let this kind of sink in there, and we'll come back and we'll finish the rebuild. Okay, guys. So we're back. I just did a test fit on the center diff to make sure everything fit in there properly. I'm gonna pull apart to show you guys. I already sealed it with 200K diff fluid, and I originally overfilled it a little bit, but that kind of gives you a rough idea. So when I filled it up, initially it had a nice little, like a slight like a divot or a recess. It had a slight recess in the middle, and that was probably perfect. I was afraid that wasn't enough, so then I went back and I topped it off, and it was basically level with diff fluid, which was then of course too much. So now I'm just going to make sure everything's seated in there, and then I'm gonna clean. I want to make sure I don't have any grease or diff fluid getting down into my where my threads are. I'm just going to double check everything real quick. So there's a little glob of diff fluid on the end of my Allen wrench there. And I'm just trying to get the excess off because I don't want, I just don't want it to get into my threads when I screw this thing back together. So I'm just going through here with an Allen wrench and kind of poking the extra diff fluid off, kind of best I can. So that's good. Filled up with diff fluid. I used 200K, guys. I probably, in retrospect, I wish I would have put 300 300K in there, but I didn't. I've even seen people say that they use 500K, but this is my first rebuild. I'm going to try the 200. We're just going to go with that and see how it works. Plus, it kind of gives me, it kind of gives me my bearings. I can see on my next rebuild, then I can go to 300. Or, depending on how this handles, then I can go to 500. Or, it might be that I actually really like 200. So, we're just, it's what I had on hand. We're going to see how the 200K diff fluid works. I'm going to use blue thread locker. It's generic, it's Permatex brand blue thread locker on the threads of the screws that go back in there. And we're just going to put a little bit on there. That is still way too much. Let's see. Here are my screws. I didn't want nearly that much on there. I just wanted a little bit. Just gonna get this started. One seated. Got a little bit of Loctite on this one, probably more than I even wanted. Take a little bit off. And getting that one in there. I'm going to have to invest in some legit RC screwdriver, Allen screwdrivers. This one is good. It's it's like a just some cheapy Task Force. You open up the handle and it's got like a bunch of household style Phillips head, flat, and then some hex screwdriver tips in there. It's really good for a little utility screwdriver. And then I actually just bought a set of the tips. I like it for the most part, but I'm gonna have to get some legit RC tools here, I think, soon. Okay, so I'm not cranking those down just yet, really. I just wanted a little dab of Loctite. I think I kind of put too much on that one, but oh well. It's blue, so it's not going to worry me. I'm not going to worry about it too much. And there we go. Okay. That one's on there tight. That one's on there tight. It's on there. It's on there tight. 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 Okay. Now, personally, my personal preference is to get these all screwed in there tightly. I don't know if you could tell, I wasn't like really torquing it down past, I don't know. I tightened it to the point where it was tight, and then I went just like a quarter turn or like an eighth of a turn past tight to where it was really snug. But personally, I didn't want to risk over tightening these screws because they're fine threads. It's a fairly long screw for this application. There's 4 of them. So I felt like I tightened them, as tight as they needed to be. And if I went any tighter, I mean, there's really no point. I don't even know that. All I would be doing is stretching the screws at that point. Okay, so this thing is all cinched down. all the screws are tight. Now I'm just wiping off the excess thread locker, the Loctite. And it should be good to go. So, one thing, guys, I did in fact leave this ring, this seal ring. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it like my viewer suggested. So I left this ring out. It's supposed to seat between the. Let me just look at the reference the manual real quick. So I guess. Let me see here. I can't tell now. I think this is the front. Yeah, I think this is the front output shaft and this is the rear side. So it seats in between there, in between the two halves. And, oops, I don't want to put it down on the greasy side. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. So I left it out, like one of the viewers of SRC Paradise suggested. Reason being, it's going to create, by leaving that out, it's going to pack the gears just that much more tightly and take up any slack. Whatever slack was in there is now gone. So that's important because, you know, as I'm doing backflips and, you know, crazy landings and stuff, I want this diff, I want this center diff packed as, you know, as tightly as possible, as long as it's not overly tight, as long as it can still function and, you know, do its job. I'm fine with it being packed more tightly. So there you got it. There you have it. I don't think I ever loosened this grub screw. Do not think so. Let's double check that real quick. Yeah, I never loosened that screw. Okay, it's a 1.5 by the way. It's the smallest Allen wrench I've got. And there you have it, guys. Center diff rebuild, 200K. It does feel a little tighter, not the mesh, but just spinning it. Definitely feels tighter than it was before. So I am super interested in seeing how this performs. One thing I'm kind of curious about, because I didn't put that in there and because I didn't have like grease sealant or something, I just screwed the two pieces of metal together. It's on there tight. I hope I don't have a leak here. I don't think I will, because that 200K is pretty thick. But that was just something that crossed my mind, just a thought, you know. That's it. Center diff for the BE6S, complete. Love it.
That'll do it, guys. Center diff rebuild complete. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it informative. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. I've got the next video coming up. We're going to put the center diff back in the BE6S, take it out, and give it a test spin and see how it all performs. Thanks for watching. Cheers.